Manuel Ugarte is in love with the possibility of joining Manchester United as belief grows that a deal can be done. Napoli are set for talks with United regarding Scott McTominay. Reports that Bruno has signed his new contract, a Sancho update, and loads of other news to go through that will keep you right up to date with everything regarding Manchester United. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video and let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with the latest regarding Jadon Sancho. So in case you've missed it, this morning there was more news regarding Sancho to PSG around how that deal could be back on, and reports that United have told PSG that they want £50 million for him. There was reports of a contract offer from PSG as well. So Jack Talbot, who's a credible source, said that Paris Saint-Germain have reopened talks with Manchester United over a possible move for Jadon Sancho. Sancho is open to a move to PSG, but he is also happy to stay and fight for his place, believing he has a better chance of securing a regular spot. Fabrizio Romano has said that Manchester United are aware of the possibility of Sancho to leave and contact between his agent and PSG, but no official bid has been made yet. And Miguel Delaney, who is a really credible source when it comes to Man United news, works for The Independent, has said that Jadon Sancho could join PSG on a loan with an obligation to buy after negotiations between both clubs. The two clubs are attempted to unlock a deal that could also see Manuel Ugarte move in the opposite direction. And that's what I mentioned in this morning's video, saying that, well, surely if PSG want Jadon Sancho and that interest is genuine, we know that we want Ugarte. And if that interest is genuine, then surely there can be some kind of deal to be done between the two clubs, whether it's a double loan with obligations to buy, whether we both just, screw the nut, reduce the asking prices and do some kind of deal that way. I don't think we'll do a swap because swap deals don't rarely happen in football. But surely there's something that can be done if you've got two teams that want a player each on their side. Then I think that could be something to definitely keep an eye on anyway, because there's loads more noise regarding Sancho to PSG. There's probably more noise than there's ever been around PSG and Sancho. There's been rumours before. I think it was mainly from Fabrizio Romano saying there's interest and there's talks, and but PSG or Sancho was a number of other players that PSG were interested in. Now the noise is starting to get a little bit louder, and there's no smoke without fire. So it's definitely one to keep an eye on. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then obviously the other player we've just mentioned then is Ugarte. So Fabrizio Romano has said Manuel Ugarte is in love with the idea of being a Manchester United player and playing at Old Trafford. He is pushing for the move. Miguel Delaney, again, another credible source, said that Erik ten Hag is personally keen on Ugarte, who has similarly been raised as a hugely promising option by the club's new recruitment hierarchy. And there's been a few stories around, I think United have a kind of pushing a narrative around the new recruitment structure and stuff, which I'm going to go through at the end of the video. And then also Richard Fay, another credible source for United, said there was a growing belief an agreement could be reached for Manuel Ugarte to join Manchester United. So again, the stories around Ugarte are starting to pick up a little bit of pace with more credible sources, especially the one from Fabrizio saying he is in love with the idea of being a Man United player. We know from earlier today that George Mendes is in contract in negotiations with United, trying to get that deal done. So it looks like these deals are starting to feel like they're on the right track anyway. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because anything can happen in the transfer market. There's so much noise and so much rumours going on around United at the moment that it's very difficult to actually keep a track of what's going on, where we're at, who's saying what, because there is just so much noise coming out around transfers and stuff. And in a good way, though, it's not, yes, we have a few of the rubbish stories. I'm going to mention one next, actually. You will get the random kind of, the bullshit stories, basically, where you just know they're nonsense. But a lot of the stories actually are there's a lot of credibility behind them. So it is looking looking possible anyway, is what I would say with Ugarte and potentially Sancho, some kind of deal to be done there. But let me know what you think about in the comments. Now, sticking with BS stories. There's been a few stories recently that I've brought to you regarding Frankie de Jong, mainly coming from Spanish outlets, which I have been saying that I will be taking with a massive pinch of salt because they're not the most credible. And then Fabrizio Romano has said there is nothing ongoing between Frankie de Jong and Manchester United, no contracts or discussions to date. I did say, I think it was in a previous video, that if we'd made a bid for Frankie de Jong, somebody like Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein, Florian Plettenberg, somebody credible with a bit of credibility would know about that, because that's their world, that's their industry, that's why they're so good at what they do, is because they have insiders when it comes to these sort of deals. And there was loads of talks from Spain saying we've made a bid that had been rejected for Frankie de Jong. And they're directly from probably one of the most credible journalists, Fabrizio Romano, saying, nope, nothing in it. So there we go. Now, another player that we could potentially be likely or possibly now looking to miss out on is Youssouf Fofana. So Fabrizio Romano again has said that AC Milan and Monaco are still working on a club-to-club agreement for Fofana. The player is waiting for Milan. And he did say the other day that effectively Milan, I think Milan actually came out themselves, name dropping Fofana, saying he's a player that we want, that we know the player wants to join Milan. So I think that feels a little bit different to the Xerxes one, because the Xerxes, there were stories saying United are coming in for Xerxes and are now favourites. Romano was obviously saying, nope, Milan are the favourites as well. I'm not saying that he was wrong. He's obviously just going off of what he was told at the time. But this feels a little bit different. This feels like it might be potentially one that we either miss out on, or we're going to have to make a really late swoop for Youssouf Fofana. But we'll keep an eye on it for you. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, there was obviously more noise regarding Scott McTominay leaving as well, which again I broke to you saying this morning, saying that McTominay or United had rejected a loan offer from Napoli. So Fabrizio Romano has said that Manchester United have been very clear a loan move is impossible for Scott McTominay. I did mention that I don't think United have any interest in loaning out Scott McTominay, because we need the funds from him to potentially do more in the transfer market that that United and Ineos want to do for the rest of this summer. And if we don't, then we might only get one more player in, which is believed to be like a cheaper midfielder, likely to be Sanderberg or maybe Amrabat. Can't rule out Amrabat because he's still effectively waiting for United as well. But then a credible Italian outlet have come out saying that Napoli sporting director Giovanni Manna is in England and will be holding talks with Manchester United about a move for Scott McTominay. So that's an interesting development, because it's always been believed that Fulham are the main candidates for Scott McTominay, but then news broke a couple of days ago saying that Napoli, along with Everton, Brentford, Fenerbahce and Galatasaray, were potentially looking at McTominay. Then we've had noise that Napoli have had a loan bid rejected for McTominay, from Romano saying, nope, United are not going to entertain a loan bid. So if Napoli are in direct negotiations, maybe there could be something in that, or it might even start triggering a bidding war, which is what I hope for Scott McTominay. I hope that there's multiple teams that come in for him, so we can start a bit of a bidding war to get the maximum fee that we can for him if United are looking to move him out. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, there's some interesting quotes regarding Matthias de Ligt and Mazraoui. I just wanted to quickly run for you. So, firstly came from Stephen Railston, who's a decent source when it comes to Manchester United. He works for the Manchester Evening News, so actually he's a really credible source when it comes to United, saying that club sources believe the signings of de Ligt and Mazraoui have been completed for fair market value, and have reiterated United have to maintain budget discipline this summer. So him kind of coming out to say that actually United think they got good value for money for Matthias de Ligt and Mazraoui, but we do, and the reason for that is because we do have a very strict budget this summer, which is clearly what Ineos are working towards, which is why we're being a bit kind of slow or patient, I would say, with certain deals. Obviously, we waited a while for de Ligt for the price to drop so that we could get it, rather than overpaying and doing that. And it looks like that's what we're doing with Ugarte as well. And then keeping with de Ligt, Melissa Reddy, who's really credible when it comes to United, gets briefed by the club, I'm sure as well, saying that Matthias de Ligt, who was proposed by the recruitment team to raise the physical and technical ceiling, is considered a good complement to the aggressive and instinctive Lisandro Martinez. The feeling is that Mateus de Ligt's qualities have not been exploited at Bayern Munich, and that his profile and attitude will be an asset to United. So Melissa Reddy kind of, I think that's a club brief. That's quite a specific statement from Melissa Reddy, saying that actually United think that he was underused at Bayern Munich effectively, and that he's got the right skill set to be a good partner for Martinez. Which is probably about right. The qualities, good in the air, good at reading the game, sitting in as a penalty box defender, a little bit similar to the way Varane was as well. So that's going to be interesting to see if that works out to be the case. And then she also had something to say about Mazraoui, saying replacing Wan-Bissaka, a one-on-one specialist, for Mazraoui, a highly technical 2-foot player, showcases the change in dynamics. He resists pressure and is better suited to building up play. Mazraoui is one of the key cogs of Erik ten Hag's successful Ajax side, where he helped bring out the best in Anthony's game as well. So good kind of insights there from Melissa Reddy regarding what sort of players we're going to be getting and the reasons why United kind of signed them. So firstly with De Ligt, thinking that he's got the right profile to be a good partner for Martinez, but then also Mazraoui, because he's got the right skill set to play a specific style of play, which goes back to, and what I mentioned this in this morning's video, was that we're signing players for footballing reasons for the first time in years, rather than signing commercial players to sell shirts, which is massively exciting, and it's going to be interesting to see how that works, and will it actually improve our play style? Will these couple of players or few players that we're getting actually, mean that we stop having to park the bus and play counter-attacking football? Can we be more dominant than the ball? Can we be more attacking? Because that's how I want to see United going forward. But you can let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, there was obviously disappointment yesterday. So where there's highs, there's always lows. The high of De Ligt and Mazraoui signing, then the low that Luke Shaw's out again. I mean, it shouldn't come as a surprise, but it is really annoying the fact that we've finished last season with no fit left back, and we're going to start this season with no fit left back as well. And it's starting to become a massive concern of mine, actually, because yes, we've got Mazraoui who can play at left back, but that still leaves you having to only play Dalot and Mazraoui, and they can't play every single game. At the start of the season, you might get away with it, touch wood, barring injuries, but eventually you're going to have to rotate some of these players. And if you've got Malacia and Luke Shaw effectively as your backups, it's a big concern for me now, the left back position. But it just kind of highlights actually that there's so many holes in the squad that we might not be able to do it all in one transfer window. Richard Fay anyway come out saying that Ten Hag would rather have another specialist option to call upon while Shaw and Malacia are both sidelined, with Harry Amas not currently viewed as ready for the first team frame. A free agent or loan addition at left back would appear to be most likely. Obviously we've had links recently with Hermosa. There was Ben Chilwell news that I brought you earlier. Marcus Alonso yesterday, heavily linked. I think in the past, Fabrizio Romano has randomly dropped Sergio Reguilon as well. Short-term plaster, I suppose, because of the as I mentioned, because of the other holes we've got in the squad that are probably more prioritized than a left back this summer. It's going to be one of those, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. I agree that I think we still need to bring in a left back as cover. As much as I rate Harry Amas and think I mentioned this, I don't know he's quite ready to be like a first team starter, and apparently, according to that source, Ten Hag's not sure about Harry Amas yet being quite ready for first team football either. Again, I'll go through the names: Hermoso, Chilwell, Alonso, and Reguilon. The four kind of names that have been more heavily linked. Obviously, Branthwaite could play there as well, but I don't think we're going to have the funds available for Branthwaite unless there's some kind of madness at the end of the season. Hermoso would be the one for me that I would get because he can play centre half and at left back as well, and think would provide us extra cover in the defensive just to cover injuries. Chilwell, more injury prone than Luke Shaw the last couple of years. Alonso's 33, had back in issues last season. He's been linked again, though, quite a lot with the Athletic. Linked him the other day, and they're a really credible source, so that might be one to keep an eye on. And obviously, Fabrizio Romano has name dropped Reguilon, who's looking for another club, although there's rumours he might be going to Barcelona possibly. But they're your 4 options. Let me know who you would pick in the comments. Now let's move on to recruitment. So I mentioned earlier this, I think there's been some kind of brief, it seems like, from the club regarding the recruitment. So first he said Erik ten Hag is not leading the recruitment as he was before. The new sporting management came into place. The targets were offered to him based on their suitability for a style of play and their availability on the market. And again, that came from Melissa Reddy, who I think's been kind of, I don't know, doing interviews or been briefed by the club because he's got some very specific updates today as well. And I champion that. I've said in a previous video that ideally you don't want the manager buying the players. You want the manager selecting which ones he wants to get, because ultimately you can't buy players that a manager just doesn't rate or doesn't want. But he shouldn't be going to the club saying, I want this specific player. He should be saying, well, I need a midfielder, or I need a centre half, or I need a right back. And then the scouts go away and scout players under the direction of Dan Ashworth and Wilcox and Erik ten Hag, everyone working in combination to find players that suit a specific style of play. And then the manager picks which one from those handfuls of players that they come back that way they prefer. And then Dan Ashworth and everyone sit down and work out the budget and the cost and all of that stuff, which is sad that we have to think that that's not been happening at United. But that's what it seems like kind of going on with the scouts, and Dan Ashworth or Jason Wilcox, whoever it is actually recommending players to Ten Hag, and Ten Hag is kind of picking, saying yes or no, depending on what he thinks. And Jack Talbot said a similar thing as well, not just Ten Hag spearheading recruitment, as has been suggested. It's been collaborative effort from the United hierarchy. So I think United are quite keen to get out a story around the fact that it is not Erik ten Hag that's signing players, probably because we're signing former Ajax players again, and that narrative's already started to come out in the mainstream media when I've seen like clips of, United have spent X amount on a former Ajax players and stuff. So I think United are quite keen to put it out there that actually this is a team effort. This is not Erik ten Hag saying, I want this specific player or I want that specific player, to maybe take a bit of pressure away from him. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then the final story for you. Fabrizio Romano has said that Bruno Fernandes is signing his new Manchester United contract right now. And then there was another French... L'Equipe. So that last journalist works for L'Equipe. Again, very credible outlet saying that Bruno Fernandes has signed his new contract. So we're still waiting for official announcement, whether that's true or not. But obviously Fabrizio Romano's in the know. He was the one that brought the exclusive about Bruno Fernandes getting the new contract in the first place. So keep an eye on that. Could be an announcement probably tonight, because United love dropping late night updates or late night kind of excitements to keep you up all night thinking and researching and doing stuff. But yeah, could be possibly an announcement on that coming up. But according to Romano and L'Equipe, very credible outlets or sources, effectively they're saying that Bruno Fernandes has signed his contract, so we'll have to wait and see. So that's you all up to date with the latest transfer news and Man United latest. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I enjoy reading them. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you in the next one.